Welcome to Beyond the Plates, Industry Talks by Cordon Bleu. In this podcast, we get some real insight into the food and hospitality industry from a variety of renowned chefs, industry experts, and Le Cordon Bleu alumni. Join us as we hear the fascinating stories and unique experiences behind some of the best-known names in the industry.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello from London. Hope you are well and safe wherever you are. I have a pleasure to bring in Chef Masaki Sugisaki, the owner and managing director cum executive chef of SW3, Dining's SW3 in Chelsea. In this session, we will be kind of going through the cultural aspect of Japanese cuisine. Just to give you a bit of a brief introduction to Chef Masaki, Chef Masaki was born in Saitama Prefecture in Japan. He was surrounded by food as the eldest son of a family running traditional kaiseki restaurant in Saitama. And at a very early age of around 23, he traveled to London, where he started working in several Japanese restaurants across the capital to gain experience in how Japanese cuisine is served in other parts of the world outside Japan. After returning to Japan and taking over the role of head chef in his own restaurant, he moved on to Tokyo, where he became an executive chef, and then in 2005 he moved back to London, where he opened up the Nobu Berkeley Hotel, the Nobu Berkeley Street, where he met Tomonari Shiba, the founder of Dinings. And after a few years, they came together as a force as business partners and opened up Dining's SW3 in Chelsea. Now, Chef Masaki is at the helm as executive chef and managing director over a decade. And it'll be great for Chef Masaki to kind of grace these participants with the understanding of the huge scope of Japanese cuisine and its relevance in the international dining scene. Masaki-san?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm so excited and a huge pleasure for me to represent Japanese culture. Although I'm living outside of Japan for a long time, but I do my best to introduce cultural side of Japanese cuisine. As I was introduced, I've been in this industry for quite a long time. I was born and raised in the traditional Japanese restaurant family. So funny thing is that I used to hate it because my parents forced me to work in a restaurant as soon as I joined high school. And while my friends are playing around, I needed to stuck in a kitchen. So, it was always a nightmare for me. But now I'm loving it and really appreciate what I've learned until now. And I'm hoping that I can share within this given short period of time that I can share some of my point of view what the Japanese cuisine all about. Instead of focusing on its technique or detailed information about the ingredients whatsoever. The first thing I want to look into is that the importance of the Japanese culture on its own. Food is always connected to its culture. In case of Japan, obviously, it's the same, and it's deeply connected. And nowadays, because of the evolutions, especially within the informations, exchanging the information is totally changed the whole world structure. And that gives you lots of informations on its own within your reach. All you need is just to tap into a Google and then press enter. Then you will gain a wide range of the informations. However, this informations is causing another concern from my point of view. That is because of the food culture on its own, especially in Japanese cuisine, I believe. But that's simply because this is how I trained, so that especially in Japanese cuisine, information is just a tool. But the most important thing is that the cultural background, and then also the building my own theme, why I'm cooking it, what I'm doing for. Without having this, taking lots of amount of information could make you blind, and then you are drowning in the middle of the let's say information seas in a way. And that is the nightmare, because the cultural aspect is going to be lost. That's why I want to look into these parts instead of technical side today. Hope this information will give you the total picture, even if it's a brief, but the total picture of Japanese culture on its own, related to food industry especially. And then it's going to give you the correct information of Japanese culture background. Then you can use whichever the information available on the internet or books in a correct way, and then it's going to also help your personal development. That is the aim for me to have today. So starting with the social background. Now, because of this internet, then the other book or media technologies, information is everywhere. And then this changed the structure of the industry, I believe. How it's changed is that there are no cultural borders within, which means culture, individual culture, which means the character of the cuisine was built based on this, let's say, cultural border, but now is disappearing. So in a good way, it's developing the new standard of world cuisine. It was used to be like, the separated each category, but now it's combining everything together, which is the good things in terms of its evolutions and then the developments. However, it comes with the concern of the traditions. It can cause the loss of traditional culture or authenticity as well. This is food culture is all about the things being built not by within our generation, but it's been passed over and then evaluated into the next level. By repeating this process, food culture on its own is developed along with the culture on its own. So this is something I really want to focus on when we deal with the informations. And by doing this, we can keep this good portion of the traditions and then put more new style or develop the new style based on the traditions. That's our challenge, I believe. So in order to do so, the understanding the cultural background is obviously comes to main topic. And this is the kind of information you can achieve. However, is split into many different parts, such as like a historical parts, or if it's a sushi individual, tempura individual. So what I'm trying to do is that to combine everything together. So first thing first, let's look into the detail, which is the first of all, I want everybody to look into the cultural background, especially social structures. Even modern world of Japan now, we have two main backbones within the social structures, what we call social backbones. It's divided by the location to start with, where where used to be a capital is. It was, first of all, it was Kyoto. It was quite a long time ago. Kyoto was the capital of Japan, so it was controlled everything from Kyoto. So they developed their own culture, advanced culture, and then it's moved to Tokyo after that, and that changed the social structures and then the value of each element what we deal with on the daily life. And so, what is the difference? In the Kyoto, the noble society is being built between this, during this time. Then, instead of that, when the capital moved to Tokyo, samurai society took over the control. And these two made a huge difference. The samurai society is all about the Bushido thing. Probably you've heard of Bushido. It's all about live or die. But they try to look for the beauty of the life by sacrificing not afraid to sacrifice their life. So compared to the noble society, it was completely different. And as the society structure changed, obviously its value has changed. So what is the actual cultural difference? In case of Kyoto, it was highly sophisticated. And means what? Basically, this is being built within the royal family, let's say, so that every single thing they do needs to be sophisticated. However, in a samurai society, it's all about chic and vibrant. It's more like, the focused on the spot you are living now, because you are always ready to sacrifice your life. So you need to enjoy your life. That is the basic difference. And interestingly, this cultural difference is made a few interesting differences in between, tangible difference, such as like easy example is going to be the soy sauce. In Tokyo, what we know soy sauce is being commonly used in the Tokyo area. But in Kyoto area, normally they prefer light soy sauce. The difference between light soy sauce and the normal soy sauce is that the light soy sauce contains more amount of salt, but less color and less flavor. So it's much more sophisticated in a way. It's going to push up the original flavor of the ingredients. Against this normal soy sauce, as you know, the flavor is quite a strong aroma together with the rest of the umami flavor whatsoever. So it's more aggressive in a way. So it's more vibrant, for example. And other interesting, rather funny cultural difference. Probably you guys know freshwater eel, unagi. Basically, what we do traditionally is to fillet it and skewer them and grill them and dip it into a soy sauce, sweet soy sauce, and then grill it a few times. And then, to put it on top of the bed of steamed rice. And that's served as the unagi donburi, what we call. And this way to fillet the unagi, freshwater eel, is completely the opposite between Kyoto and Tokyo. This reason is rather funny, actually. In the samurai culture, the worst things you can do is to shame on yourself. And then if you are ashamed to yourself, what happens is that you do this awful tradition, harakiri, which is basically the short legs of knife. You need to stab your stomach and cut it through in the length way. And then you kill yourself. And then that is the apologize towards to your master or whoever. So cutting the filleting the fish from belly side is a bad luck. Therefore, in case of Kyoto area, they fillet the fish from the belly side, as same as the other fish. But in case of Tokyo, they fillet it from the backside. So in many different ways, these two different social backbone is affecting and then still holding the main part of the Japanese culture, including the food industry as well. That is the quite interesting thing. And next thing I need to mention is that the period of time we close our country, which is called Sakoku. Over 220 years, it's about 200 until 200 years ago. Japanese government back in that time decided to close our country, our border from the other countries. So literally, just like where we are now, we decided to be locked down completely. That's because of the the Christian culture is coming in and affecting the Buddhism, blah, 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 that complicated structure, but let's not go into that. But because we isolate ourselves from all the outside of the world, during this time, we were in a way left alone from the worldwide evolutions in terms of technologies, in terms of whichever the culture is. Instead, we built our own unique culture. So this 200 years, when the world is going through inventing a lot of technologies or industrial revolutions whatsoever, Japan was left alone. Instead, we developed a really unique character of the country. I think this is a quite important thing to mention about, because as you know, Japan has got quite how can I say, quite mysterious side of it. Like if you say Japan, what do you think about Japan? Some people still mentioning about the samurai, which doesn't exist anymore. But in a way, is a lot of traditional, beautiful temples, cultures, versus modern technology, organized society. So these two sides of the culture, one side of it, traditional side, is being built within this period, including the food culture as well. So I think it's worth it to remember. And next thing I want to mention is that culture of takumi. You can say we sometimes use the word shokunin as well. This means basically it's the artisan in Japanese. However, Japanese culture has really geeky side of it in a way. I don't know if it's coming from the Bushido or Wabi-Sabi spirits or whatsoever, but when we dig into detail, we dig into the deepest level, possible level, and then you sacrifice yourself. That is the culture of it. And that is the quite important element to build the Japanese culture as it is now. And that is the crucial parts of Japanese culture made difference between compared to the other part of the world. And what is the mentality or aim of the Takumi culture? They pursue the individual theme. Instead of a wide range of theme, they choose the one theme and then the deepest possible level they dig into. And then their learning process will never end. They spend literally whole life to develop or to learn in this specific narrow range of topics. And this is applied to every single industry, not only food, but other things as well. If you look into the recent history of Japan, everybody knows Japanese electrical, the equipment was the highest technology whatsoever. But if you consider that history-wise, as we close our border for a long period of time from the outside of the world, and then we left alone, and then the foreign country had a much more advanced technologies. But once we opened the door in a minute, soon after that, Japan became one of the top level. That's based on this culture of takumi. So this is the kind of good example of this. Probably you've heard when you enter sushi industry, for example, you need to spend the first 10 years without making actual sushi. All you can do is that learning slowly learning how to cook rice, how to mix rice and vinegar together, and then how to fillet the fish. But you are not allowed to stand in front of customer. This is based on this culture as well. It sounds ridiculous, but it's a common sense in a way in Japan. And the other things is I need to mention is the respect and the appreciation. This is also very, very deeply connected to the everyday life of Japan, not in only the artisan culture, but everywhere. As you enter the school, this is exactly what you learn. You need to respect other people. You need to appreciate what you are given. So that is the base of well-organized country. In a way, if you, for example, go to the train stations, the all train comes exactly on time, not 1 minute different. If you are late for 1 minute, it's going to be a big issue. That is, the level of geekiness in a way Japanese society are built on. And then within the food industry as well, when I entered the kitchen for the first time, first thing I learned is this, which is understanding what you are doing for, which is like, we are cooking food for the guest, and cooking the food, yes, is the simply is in the simplest way is sustaining our own life, but sustaining our own life is the consuming of other life. That is how it works, so that we need to respect and appreciate what is given to us. And by doing this, what they are trying to say is not only the understanding the its importance of it, but Japanese cuisine is all about focusing on each individual ingredients, and then rather than adding a lot of different kind of spices, flavors, whatsoever, what we are trying to aim is that to take off unnecessary part. If it's the fish, take off the fishiness, take off the fat, the excess fats or whatever, and then try to keep the best out of it. then keep as simple as possible. So this respect and appreciation is the base of Japanese cuisine, which is very simple and clean flavor. That is the the most important part when it's come to a cooking process. So this, even if it's in the same Asian area, for example, Chinese food and Japanese food has got completely different characters. Although if we are using the similar kind of ingredients, the way we cook, where we finalize the dish is completely different. That's based on this as well, together with other facts, which I'm gonna go through later. And then this same philosophy, will apply to the skills and equipment as well. As you know, Japanese cooking techniques, such as like knife technique, for example, is extremely sophisticated. It's not because we focus on the techniques on its own, but it's because of the respect towards to the ingredients. If you are using if you don't have a skills, obviously you cannot keep the best condition of the ingredients. If you are filleting the fish, you need to minimize its negative effect and keeping the best condition as much as you can. That is your ultimate goal. But in order to do so, you need a good skills. And then not only the skills, that applies to equipment as well. That's why everybody are getting crazy nowadays for Japanese knife. Reason why Japanese knife are so good is because of this on its own. These topics as it is. For instance, sashimi knife has got long blade with the kind of a thin blade as well, and one side is cut off in angle. This is designed just to cut the fish in the best conditions. It tends to be European way is cutting the things from the top to bottom. Obviously, there's a sliding motion a little bit of it, but in case of Japan, we just slide the knife all the way, the long blade. And by doing this, you can minimize the damage the actual ingredients will receive. If you squash the ingredients, obviously each cell is going to be squashed and then bruised, even if it's a vegetable, fish, exactly the same. However, if you slide them by using the weight of the blade on its own, then you can minimize that. By doing this, you can keep the flavor without losing it, and then you can keep the original texture, so that you can prepare the dish with the best condition from out of the same ingredients. That's why Japanese knife has got so many different shape and size, and then the specific use of it. That is the based on this respect and appreciation as well. So as you can see up to here now, Japanese culture is very geeky in a way, but in a good way, I believe. And that is that start to be recognized from all over the world now, and then it became quite a trend nowadays. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of talk. So I moved on to the first Q&A time. If there's any questions whatsoever, please feel free.
Chef Masaki, we have a question from a gentleman called Perry.
Sure.
Culture of takumi in the culinary sense and the making sushi. How long will a chef take to master the aspect of making sushi?
Very good questions. Very good questions. If you want to learn very traditional, authentic one, 10 years is the good amount of time. Even luckily, if you could gain this opportunity to make a sushi in front of the customer, less than 10 years time, still 10 years is the minimum amount of time you need to go through. At the end of the day, I will talk about the season as well. Japan has got 4 completely different seasons, and each season has different ingredients availability, and depending on that, way you cook, way you do is completely different. So 10 years of experience at the end of the day is just that you are repeating the 10 times, each ingredients 10 times within 10 years, which is not good enough. And then even if it's like filleting the fish or cutting the rice, which is the literal meaning is the cutting, but the mixing the sushi rice with the vinegar, it's a simple mixing process. However, by repeating it 100 times, 200 times, 300 times. Each time when you focus, you will gain more, and then you will make the better result. That's how I believe in Japan. I hope that is answering your question.
Yes, you did. Good, thank you. Um, Another one.
Sure.
When will be the umami of the fish at its peak? Is it when it's freshly caught or after some time, few hours
Okay.
later? And why?
Okay, so that's a good question. Umami of the fish and seafood, which I will touch the base later on, is first of all, it's started from the season. Each fish and seafood, obviously vegetable as well, has got a season to it. And then the what we call season in English and Japan is slightly different. So I'm going to touch the base later. But the other fact is that when you kill the fish, basically what the people think is that the flesh is better, the flavor, but it is not necessarily like that. Just like all the other animals, after you kill, what happens? They get really stiff. All the muscle become really tense. And then as the time goes, what we call aging process, it starts to relax. Then its enzymes start to breaking down the whichever the minerals it has, and then start creating the umami acid, which is like a glutamic acid or inosaic acid, and then that is what we call the tasty part. So if you, the best thing is that they apply exactly the same method as the dry aging process of the meat. What they do is that after you kill the meat, you don't eat straight away. You develop the flavor and tenderize the meat. And that is the exact process you need to go through for the fish and seafood as well. But in case of Japan, there's another part of the culture that you enjoy the freshness. So probably you've heard the technique or dish called usuzukuri, which is like a carpaccio thing, especially applied to the white fish. Fresh fish is cut into really thin piece, and then you enjoy its texture. Instead of umami flavor, you enjoy the texture. So if it's extremely fresh one, you enjoy the texture. So customer, experienced guests are not looking into the flavor or umami, but the texture. And if you are looking into the umami flavor, then you need to use the aged, in a way, matured fish instead of fresh one. But obviously, compared to the meat, the maturing process of the fish is a lot faster. Depending on the fish and depend how you prepare, the time is going to be different, but it can be 3 days start with. But the things, the fish like the tuna, for example, it can be 2 weeks to be matured as well. So it varies, but this aging process, after the aging process, that's the time umami flavor is maximized.
Yeah, we got a few more questions coming in, but I will try to make it a bit as condensed as possible, bearing in mind the time. Quickly, if you can just probably put a light on how well the kaiseki style has translated over to the Western fine dining.
Okay, so which actually I'm going to touch the base later on. Is included this course.
If that's the case, then we can probably we can come back to this later.
Okay, yeah, let's come back to later.
I have a few questions. Is it possible to make soy sauce at home? Do you recommend any resources or information on this craft? And at the same time, do have another question relating to soy. What is the rationale and significance of soy, seaweed, and miso in Japanese cuisine? So I know it is two different aspects combined together. So if you can just probably give a bit of an understanding of how to make soy sauce at home.
Okay, the soy sauce can be made, but I don't recommend that because it's a lot of things to do with the fermentation and then also the quality of the ingredients. And we are dealing with the fungus, which will be quite an unusual fungus you are dealing with, which is a koji fungus. And the temperature and humidity also involved. Making the miso is a lot easier, actually, because it contains much more amount of salt, and then the good quality of ingredients is available as well. But soy sauce on its own, I don't even try to do that. Instead, I choose the right the soy sauce. And then, what I do, for example, I choose the neutral, good quality soy sauce, which in my restaurant, I use Yamasa soy sauce. And based on that, I blend the other ingredients in there, such as like a kelp or sometimes bonito flakes, a bit of yuzu juice or sake or mirin or whatsoever to mold it into the way you want to use, you want to create. I think that is going to be the right way to do so for now.
Okay, great. Thank you. You touched base on the resting of the fish, but the term ikejimi, are you familiar?
Ikejime.
Yes.
Ikejime. Okay.
Is it just a thing of experience?
Ikejime is the way to kill the fish. It's acknowledged as the most humane way to kill the fish. But it's not only that. The purpose of ikejime is to keep its freshness in the best condition. So basically, best condition to keep the best condition. That's the best way. What they do is that they cut off the spine and then take off the nerves located underneath the spine. By doing this, fish literally cannot feel and then cannot move. So they cannot self-destruct in a way. When after they fish the outside of the water, then they can move around and they can make a blues and they can damage themselves and blah, 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 blah. It's preventing the possible damaging process, and then also slowing down the process of this, let's say losing the quality on its own. So when you do ikejime or shinkejime, these two methods is quite similar but slightly different. But by doing this, you can extend the shelf life of the fish in a good condition. That is the purpose of it.
Great. I think we have kind of covered pretty much almost all the questions.
Okay.
That's a very good scientific explanation as well. Let's move on.
Okay. So let's move on to the next topics, which is which I want to dig into a slight more detailed information related to the food on its own. And first thing I want to mention is the season. As I mentioned before, Japan has 4 clear different seasons. Obviously, for because of the geographic locations, we have the beautiful spring to start with, aggressive summer, which is very similar to the Southeast Asian summer condition, high humidity and the high temperature whatsoever. And then the autumn time, everything is going to start to die down, and then the winter time can be really harsh. As you can see, well, I will talk about the geographic characters of it, but as you can see, the Japanese map, north and south, is quite stretched out, in between. And the north part of Japan, especially around the area of Hokkaido, has got so harsh winter. The winter time, 2 meters, 3 meters of snow overnight. That is the level of the harsh winter. So this, the fall season is the kind of part of the Japanese culture, connected to the Japanese culture or base of the Japanese culture. Then within the high standard cuisine, such as kaiseki, you mentioned, needs to represent this seasonal aspects within the meal by using specific ingredients or the method or seasoning or texture whatsoever. Anyway, it's the 3 elements you need to include to recreate the seasonality within the meal. How you do is that you include these 3 elements. One is hashiri and shun and nagori. These 3 elements. What it means, hashiri is the season just about to start, representing the future. So if we are now, it's the weather start to showing the springy side of it, so that we include the springy ingredients or way to cook, which is like another than serving the hot dishes, some of the cool chilled dish to be served as a part of the cold meal. And the next one is the shun, which is the current season, best season for now. This is the representing the time scape of now. And then followed by the nagori is the season that is ending, which is like in case of now, it's going to be the winter. Winter is ending. But by using these 3 aspects within the one course meal, you can specify where we are now in this moment. Dividing the season into 4 is not good enough for Japanese people, especially in high standard Japanese cuisine. It's all about the appreciation about what we have now, what we had before, so that we can, by using these 3 individual elements, what we can do, we can recreate the detailed seasonal aspects within the meal. And this is the very important part of the Japanese culture. One thing I want to mention about we talked about the best season, umami whatsoever, which is the shun, what we call shun. And this shun is unlike the other 2 elements, hashiri and naguri. Shun is used for every single restaurant businesses in London as a common sense. Basically, what we do is that we create everything based on the seasonality. And when it's come to fish and seafood, when is the best season then, right? For example, in the British, around the British water, for example, the Dover sole, we have a very good Dover sole around British water. However, it's always available. But in case of Japan, it's not. Reason why is that there's a best specific season for each ingredient. So when is that? That's the time just before the mating season. This time, specific period of time, what they do is that they start to reserve a lot of fat by eating a lot of food, prepare themselves to lay the egg. And because of that preparation period process, they contain a lot of fat within. And then because they are chasing a lot of food, they move a lot. They develop the good amount of muscle and then the good healthy fat in them. And conveniently, these fish comes to a season. Normally, even if they lived in the farther, deeper water, around this season, they comes to shallow water, close to the land, because there's much more food source for them. And then also that is the area they lay the egg to protect the egg from the predators. So basically they fish on its own. When it's become a season, they comes to fishermen within their reach. So fisherman doesn't need to go out to the further sea to catch them. But instead, they go out as a day trip, day boat, and then they catch the fish. They bring it back when it's fresh, after the shinkenuki or ikejime technique whatsoever, and then they will be consumed when it's fresh. So the best season is it's actually different depending on the climate. For example, even if it's the same Dover sole, what we call season here and what they call in Japan season is quite different. So that depending on where you are, it's quite fascinating for you to look into this fact. When is the exact the mating season, and then the when is the shun, and by chasing that, you can squeeze out the best out of these ingredients. Right, next thing, geographic characters. As you can see from the map, Japan has got the long islands, and this is also affecting a lot about the Japanese cuisine. It consists of over 6,800 islands, which is a lot of them, with the long coastline. And the mountain is covering the narrow, the land, 66% of it. So as a result, what happened is that the surrounding sea is enriched by the volcanic water, rich water, fresh water, which is the source of the fish and seafood. So that the quality of the fish and seafood, together with the range, is amazing, and its soil is enriched by the fertile mountains. Obviously, that is growing the lots of nice vegetables, and then this is the reason why Japanese has got this ingredient-based cuisine structures with as a kind of basic idea of it. Okay, because of the time, I want to move on to the next one. And next things, I want to move on, and I want to look into the format of the restaurants. So first thing first, I want to mention the specialized restaurant culture. This is something unique about restaurant culture. So what is it, exactly? Is that the focused on a single concept, either focused on the ingredient or method of cooking. The example for this is that, for example, sushi is the method of cooking. And if you want to eat the sushi, you go to sushi restaurant where only serve sushi. When you enter the sushi restaurant from the beginning until the end, obviously there's no sushi desserts, but apart from that, whole meal is going to be formed only by sushi. And freshwater eel, as I mentioned before, if you want to eat the freshwater eel, you go to freshwater eel restaurant where they only serve freshwater eel dish. And then they apply this same spirit of takumi so that they dig in this narrow category into the deepest possible level. So, and then that is creating the, setting the standard, highest standard ever. And mind you, this is the traditional culture taken over by generation after generation. So that each time, each decade, let's say, these individual cuisine is developing and evolutionized all the time. So what we call sushi is completely different from the 200 years ago, for example. So that, this is the key part to keeping the standard of Japanese cuisine. And as an example, for example, like other facts is that this in specialized restaurant culture, or let's say format, it was not common until recently outside of Japan. It was available only within Japan. However, now maybe you know the restaurant called Araki, sushi restaurant called Araki. A couple of years ago, gained 3 Michelin star. It's opened the restaurant in London, and then after a few years of adjusting, the period, they achieved the 3 Michelin star, and this will be speeded up, and then Japanese, the food industry structure outside of Japan will be changed accordingly. There's going to be a tempura restaurant. There's going to be a unagi restaurant, soba restaurant, you name it. Lots of Japanese, the individual specialized restaurant culture will be exported and resetting the standard. I think that's going to be an interesting restructuring process to be happening for the next 10 years. Next thing, obviously, rather than focusing on one ingredient or method of cooking, there's a wide range of food available. Just like this is close to the what we call Japanese restaurant outside of Japan. It's very similar to it. But let's talk about highest level, most sophisticated version of this format, which is the kaiseki cuisine. So what is the kaiseki cuisine? It's been developed in the sophisticated, the novel society in Kyoto to start with. And it's being kept as it is, as the highest standard. It's standing on top of the pyramid of Japanese restaurant pyramid still now. And overall, they are serving a wide range of food, such as they serve tempura, they serve unagi, they serve sometimes sushi as well. But compared to the sushi restaurant, it might be different, but it's still highest possible quality food they are serving. That's why it is difficult in a way to be trained within this the category. This is where I brought up with, and then the things I needed to learn was much wider. Maybe if I cooked the sushi within this concept, kaiseki cuisine, it was not as good or exactly the same as a sushi restaurant, best sushi restaurant. However, it's been executed into the unbelievable level. So it is very kind of difficult, but challenging, the category to belongs to. Other thing I want to mention about this kaiseki cuisine is not on. It's all about the food. Actually, it is a lot of things to do with sake. Traditionally, the sake was the main, and then food is designed to accompany sake. The Japanese word for menu, we call it kondate, and kon means the way to count the number of sake bottles we emptied, and then tate means stands. So basically, menu is being built for the guest to drink even more. That was the original concept of it. So the food on its own, not only the seasonality or what you want to make, but the with the seasonal offering, and then the with what you want to do traditionally and whatsoever. On top of that, what you need to think is that, okay, what kind of sake to start with, and move on to which sake. And this food needs to be accompanied with sake. It's like a wine pairing. Is the common example, but it's the opposite way. When you're serving this food, this wine would work, but it was completely different way. And that is the kind of things very good to know, because the sake and the food is not drink and food, but in Japanese culture is together. You need to enjoy them, so that this might lead you to they bring you more interest towards the sake, and which is very good things to do. So I recommend that. Now, this kaiseki culture is a very sophisticated, high-end restaurant, let's say. So obviously, be a lower level, in a casual level, people want to have a similar kind of experience. So that is the category, what we call izakaya. Izakaya, a lot of people think izakaya is the type of cuisine, but it's a style, how you serve the dish, and then what is the concept behind it. First of all, the izakaya culture is taking over the same philosophy. Drink, it's a place to drink alcoholic drink, say sake to start with, or beer whatsoever in the modern world. And then the food will be there for you to fill your stomach, and then for you to enjoy drink. So that, again, food is not the main thing. So that there's no specific rule what you need to serve within izakaya culture. So it's, in a way, it's very similar to the Spanish tapas, but sake is, again, is more prioritized compared to the food. That is the izakaya culture. Now, let's move on to the Q&A. Any question, please?
Yeah, I just missed one question before. What is the rationale and significance of soy, seaweed, and miso in Japanese cuisine? And why is salt not used as much and soy sauce preferred?
Okay, so these are the basic seasoning agents for Japanese cuisine. Starting with the dashi stock, for example, kombu is the key of Japanese stock, together with bonito flakes. And then this been developed for a long time. But interesting thing is that in the Tokyo area, mainly we use this bonito and the stock taken from the bonito and the kombu. But as I talked about social backbones, basically in the Kyoto area, they prefer the more cleaner, sophisticated flavor. So they only use the kelp. Obviously, they use the bonito as well, but compared to Tokyo, they prefer to use the kombu things. And then that is existing as a base of the flavor combinations whatsoever. And the miso and soy sauce is the main kind of, the seasoning agents, which is actually clever. Japanese food is not much things to do with the meat. It's a lot more things to do with the fish and the vegetable. And these two main seasoning agents has got the very, very useful characters to it. For example, if it's both miso and then the soy sauce, it has got a strong effect to take off the fishiness from the fish. And on top of it, adding the umami flavor because of this fermentation process, blah, blah, blah. Those are the thing. And then the soy sauce is normally used as the dipping sauce, or, base of the seasoning, let's say. But the miso, difference between the miso is that the miso has got much more depth. It's like, thick wall. While the soy sauce has got much more cleaner in a way. It's kind of a translucent flavor, and then the milky flavor in a way. It's like the thick flavor. That is the kind of definition or like a difference of Japanese cuisine. So it's quite rare. It's not common, let's say. It exists, but it's quite rare to mix soy sauce and the miso together as a main kind of seasoning agent, because they're going to fight each other. Am I answering the questions?
Yeah, I think you have covered different elements, but in a very clean way and clear way. With regards to that fish,
yeah,
apart from Billingsgate Market, which the answer was given by another student, Tiffany, where is the best place to buy fresh fish in London?
It's a difficult questions. In case of my restaurant, what I'm doing is that I'm working closely with the Japanese fish supplier, which is more like mainly dealing with the commercialized restaurants. So they don't have a shop. They have a shop, but their product in the shop, and then what they supply is completely different. So what I'm doing is that using the fish supplier called Pesky Fish. It's commercial fish supplier. However, because of this situation, now they are delivering into home as well. Basically, what they're doing is that they are directly connected with the fishermen. Instead of going, relying on the main source to be from the Billingsgate, they are directly connected with the fishermen. So fisherman is updating through this modern app. Okay, I'm in the sea here today, and I catch this, I catch this, I catch this, and then the condition is this, and then who wants to buy it? Then this information through the app is come up to me, so that I said, okay, this will take it. Can I have this? Can I have this? Then they're gonna box it and then put it on a train or using the delivery company, and then they deliver it to my restaurant. That is the kind of, for me, best source of fresh fish and seafood. And that is also supporting, in a different prospect, all these sustainable fishermen in the UK are suffering from this difficult moment, because the massive vessels is scraping off the whole seabed and catching whatever the fish they can. They are talking about tons of fish, and in the net they were damaged and lower quality. However, it's been taken over the market. So these sustainable fishermen are suffering. But using this pesky fish, basically we are purchasing the fish in a much higher prices directly from the fishermen. So quality is guaranteed. We are supporting sustainable fishermen, and then this fisherman is keeping the environment. So it works for both of us.
That's great. And how long have you been working with pesky fish?
It's been a couple of years now, and then after this lockdown, I'm expanding this the process to be much more deeper level. So hopefully, it's going to be a much more fun as a chef.
Yeah. What kind of short grain rice is used for sushi, and is it that much different from Western kinds of rice?
Okay, so Japanese rice is completely different from the other rice, especially long grain rice is completely different. It's strange, but the Japanese rice, even if it's for sushi or steamed rice as well, it needs to be sticky enough, but it's not too sticky. That is the condition of it. And then the majority, nowadays it's widely available. Japanese rice is widely available. So that if you can get the Japanese rice, please do stick to it if you want to recreate the Japanese quality. And if you have to use the other products, try to use the Japanese, the specific rice family grow in Spain or States. It has got the close conditions with the Japanese original one, so that it contains more moisture and that they soak up more moisture, because they are grown in water field instead of a dry field. So that water field raised plants, rice, can absorb a lot of water and then create a lot of starch. And then, that creating this right balance of stickiness. So I strongly recommend to use the Japanese rice for that.
Great, thank you. I have a question following on from the conversation we had with Ikejime technique.
Yeah.
Why, when killing fish, the suffocation techniques used more often around the world than the Ikejime technique, when the last is obviously much better and have better results at the final product in the length of time?
Okay, so for example,
just questioning other cuisines around the world or the technique used in the fish.
Okay, so this technique actually started to be exported to a wider range now. For example, in France, there's I think, restaurant, original restaurant in Tokyo is called Koju. It's a Michelin-starred restaurant. When they opened their branch, basically what happened is that they suffered from the source of the fresh ingredients. So they went down to the fish ports, and then the get a special with the training course, how to kill the fish and blah 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 blah. And then became quite popular now. And then we did exactly the same. Me personally has been building the close relationship with the Cornish fishermen since like 10 years ago. And what I'm doing is that I visit them and support them. If they are going out to the sea, I'm going on the boat and help them to catch the fish whatsoever. And I learn something. And then I teach them how to kill the fish and blah, 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 blah. So that those techniques is widely spread now. But, in case of Japan, again, it's very geeky level because of the original fish quality. For example, when I first came over to London 20 years ago, for example, more than 20 years ago, it was almost impossible to look for get the sashimi quality of fish because they didn't have the tradition to serve this raw fish as it is. So it's totally understandable. And then we need to spend a good amount of time to develop this market to the next level where I want to take it to. So, it's on the right direction, but still taking the time, I guess.
Okay. There has been a flurry of questions coming around, but I'm going to wrap up with one or two. And if you can just wrap it up in a few words.
Sure.
In terms of Japanese fine dining in London, what are the elements being played in desserts? This is specifically referring to desserts. Is traditional wagashi common?
Unfortunately, no. When we talk about wagashi, is too Japanese in a way. Sweet bean paste, or like a gooey mochi texture. Mochi texture, although start to get changing, recognizing it as a kind of present texture, but unfortunately, it's quite difficult. So what we were doing now, for example, in my restaurant, is that using the Japanese elements in the correct way, which is like using matcha or whatsoever, but not overpowering it, and the flavor combination or texture is trying to recreate the closer to the original style of Japanese sweets. But the actual format needs to be like taking the Italian or like let's say French pastry technique. That is the actual fact for now. But I'm sure it's going to change soon.
Okay, great, thank you. Could you tell us a bit about koji?
Koji. Okay, very geeky
work on my pronunciation here.
Yes, koji is the big the topics for now. Even in Japan as well, there are lots of variety of koji. But this is the base of let's say it's the base of fungus fermentation. Specific koji fungus can to be settled on the any kind of grain, commonly rice or the barley or so on. And you can get this the base koji as a dry product which can last long in the room temperature. And then all you need is just to activate them around 60 degrees with enough moist and keeping cultivate them for let's say the week or so. Then it's been fully they activated. Then you can start this as it's like a sourdough starter, for example. Sourdough starter, mixing it with the main dough mix, then the fermentation start, so that you can use the fermentation process immediately by using this koji. And then this koji has got so much other benefits. Health benefit to start with, and then also in terms of flavor as well, is break down the proteins into very kind of a lot of umami flavor. So it's increasing the umami flavor together with the tenderization of the meat and then preserving the food. So it's a lots of goodness in there. And then because the koji start to be available in outside of Japan recently, I think it's going to be a big, the trend coming in based on the koji.
With the next trend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question, and I'm reserving the rest of the questions for later.
Okay.
For the next session. Do you think Hokkaido is better than other parts of Japan for fish and meat exports, seeing as the cold weather will make the animal fattier?
Sorry, say that again. I didn't get the question.
Hokkaido.
Hokkaido, yeah.
Yes, other parts of Japan for fish and meat exports, seeing as cold.
Okay. To be honest, Hokkaido is quite a difficult part for the any kind of livestock, such as like a cow or whatsoever, and the vegetable as well, because of the harsh winter. Their harsh winter is close to the Russian weather, so that's anything grows around there. It's very extremely limited, and because of that, majority of the root vegetable is the main thing they grow around there. And then for the live kettles, for example, is too harsh, and then the main food like grass, it doesn't grow there much. So it's not ideal, except there's some of the fish and seafood, especially like crabs or like sea urchin whatsoever, is they prefer the cold water. So for those items, it's good. But otherwise, when you talk about the beef or whatsoever, that's more lower side of Japan is a lot better than the north part of Japan.
Okay. One question to finish off this particular thing was,
Sure.
what's the most important factor in choosing a good wasabi? It's a very interesting question for many.
Okay, so wasabi, if you can get the fresh wasabi and then use it as quick as possible. The thing is that what we call wasabi in a tube or like powder shape is not actually 100% wasabi. Majority of the time is the colored horseradish is being kind of used as a wasabi, but it's not. And when you use wasabi, what you need to realize is that it needs to be fresh, first of all, and the oxidization is the most important thing. If you, the wasabi roots on its own, it doesn't taste like a wasabi at all. It's just bitter. But by using the fine grater, what we are using in Japan is a grater made out of shark skin, dried shark skin. Shark skin has got rough, fine texture, so that it helps the oxidization. So that's the best way. And then after grate it, you need to wait 3 to 5 minutes. This 3 to 5 minutes allow them to be oxidized. Then they will release the sweetness and then the spiciness together. And then this will be lost after 10 minutes. So using the fresh one is better. And by the way, there's a British wasabi company called British Wasabi, which we are using, is they are producing the amazing quality of wasabi, which I'm falling in love with. I'm crazy about.
Well, since you said that, could you just tell us how much a kilo of wasabi is?
It's very expensive, let's say, per piece of wasabi like this. Well, it's, it costs like 30 pounds or something. So serving the wasabi on its own, because a lot of customers are asking for like, oh, can I have a extra wasabi, extra wasabi, extra wasabi? It's killing my business. But in terms of flavor, it's amazing.
Great. Chef, I think we need to move on to the next segment, and I will ask the questions which has been coming up at the end of the session.
Sure. So next topics I'd like to talk is the street food culture in Japan. Just like all the other countries, street food in Japan is taking a big part of it. It's deeply connected to everyday life and most casual way. However, still, only difference is that they're still applying the spirits of takumi. So good example is that the sushi, for example, like as I mentioned, Araki is a 3 Michelin star, and then if you want to have an experience, you need to at least like pay £400 for it without the drink. But even the sushi starts its origin from the streets, and then it was not even sold; it was exchanged with rice. That is very interesting. Again, it went through the spirits of takumi, and then evaluated, like upgraded into the current sushi style now. But it's only 200 years of history, and then it's starting from the streets, and then now it's well-known Japanese food. It's iconic Japanese stereotypical food. So it's something they're showing the Japanese the mentality again, going back to the original conversations. And other interesting fact I can say is that the streets culture is much more vibrant. So again, going back to the original social backbones, it's originated into the Tokyo area most of the time. So sushi, again, it's they invented on the street of the Tokyo area, because Tokyo area has got much more chic and vibrant culture back in that time. However, within the area of Kyoto, which is a sophisticated culture, also there are a lot of people working for this noble society as usual people. So they obviously want to have this kind of street food culture. So Osaka, which is next to Tokyo, they took over the culture of the street food. So that's why when we talk about the street food culture in Japan now, Osaka is the one of the biggest in Japan, and then followed by Tokyo, and then other region. So it's quite interesting how the street food Japan has been developed. As you can see from the background, you can see the noodle. This ramen noodle is one of the good example. It's imported only about 100 years ago as like one of the part of the Chinese food, and then it's been the brushed up with the concept of takumi. And now in Japan there is a noodle bar with the Michelin star. So this is again representing the Japanese culture on its own. Very interesting. And next topic I want to talk about is the foreign culture in Japan. Historically, how we start dealing with after this closure of the country, how we start to be influenced by the foreign culture. The biggest wave came in after World War II. After World War II, we were forced to adapt foreign culture. And then the what we call GQ, the American government body who set the base in Japan to reassure that Japan is going to follow our standard for their standard. They force us to stop a lot of traditional Japanese culture and then accept their culture. It was a very confusing time, I believe. Studying the history is a lot of different kind of elements coming up, and then it doesn't look like even one simple city. It's got so many different faces. But somehow we developed the really good adaptation skills, I believe. And this adaptation skills is applying to all the other industry as well, such as like, as you probably heard, that Japan was used to be, like back in 10 years ago, it was one of the most advanced country for technologies, any kind of technologies. And then that is because of these adapting skills. And that applied to this the foreign culture in Japan in general. So now this foreign culture became deeply take part of the Japanese culture. So that if you visit the Japanese family at home and then invited for a meal or something, you will be surprised. You will be served a lot of foreign cuisine, such as like pasta or like the schnitzels or whatever these kind of things. You will find the difficulty to accept the fact right in front of you. However, it comes but automatically it comes with the bit of pain, which is the loss of the traditional culture. And that is why I wanted to talk about this cultural side of Japanese food to everybody here. Because you are interested in Japanese cuisine, which is amazing. But if you take the ingredients or skills whatsoever as it is, it's nothing to do with the culture. But the cultural part is the most important thing. At the end of the day, as a chef, what we were doing through the food is telling the message, showing what's in your mind towards to the guest, and without having this strong concept to get built based on the philosophy, understanding philosophies, there's not much things to tell. Then there is whichever the dish you create is going to be much more commercialized or like the personal, too much personalized in a way. And that is not what I want. What I want for everyone, from the Japanese point of view, is to take over the culture of Japan and help us to preserve this beautiful culture of Japan. Hope you understand that. Next thing, I want to talk about the Japanese food culture outside of Japan, and then its challenges as well. Because this is including us basically, we are interested in Japanese cuisine, and I am personally doing this my own project as a fusion style Japanese restaurant owner, but it always comes with the challenges. So through the look back a little bit of history, how Japanese culture has been exported and then accepted from the foreign people, and then its future, look into the future. And then if you could get the idea what's in my mind, that's the ultimate goal for me. So first of all, Japanese cuisine, as everybody knows, is became a renowned cuisine. Not only a sushi or tempura, but the Japanese cuisine on its own, in general, is became very popular in worldwide, which is great. But there's always been challenges. Well, it's a challenge. It's the cultural gap mainly. Limited access to the key ingredients as well. Still, we have a limitation in terms of availability of ingredients compared to Japan. However, it's become a kind of good enough level now. So I think that is going to be the secondary part, but the first thing is the cultural gap. Without understanding, lots of people start consuming and following the Japanese cuisine, which I feel quite the danger into it. And as a chef, we need to be specialists. We need to realize that what we are doing is that we are taking the cultural developments through what we were doing. So that we must have good knowledge and the philosophy behind, what we do. And in order to do so, this, understanding the culture is the most important thing for me, and for everybody. I hope everybody agree to it. And this cultural gap will always be there. It's not going to be taken off, at least for the next 50 years, I guess. But this cultural gap always give me a headache. For example, if I want to recreate the traditional Japanese kaiseki cuisine here in the UK, it is impossible because of the season, customer, and then the culture in general, food ingredients availability is impossible. So rather than recreating it, what we are doing is that the future challenge, which is what? Adapting the local culture and develop the new standard, but keeping the right format or like a structure of the genuine Japanese philosophy. I'm talking about this example out loud within the Japanese cuisine, but wherever you are coming from, it doesn't matter. I think this same rule will apply. And by keeping you, for you to keep this genuine identity where you're from, I think future goes into the right direction, which is like in a good way. There's not going to be a border, and world cuisine will be developed. However, keeping the right portion, right quantity, right amount of the philosophy behind. I think that is the most important thing. One of the example when we talk about this the food culture in outside of Japan is that Nikkei cuisine. It's a very good example, actually. The Nikkei cuisine, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's basically the cuisine created in Peru together with the Japanese immigrants settled down at the very end of 19th century. They were sent to Peru as a manual labor working in a farm. But obviously they didn't have any Japanese the ingredients whatsoever. So what they did is that after they settled down, they started making their own soy sauce, miso whatsoever, little by little, and then start to be creating the Japanese cuisine with the available ingredients around them. And that, obviously, this cross kind of how do you call it? The interaction in between this Peruvian cuisine and Japanese cuisine built the base of Nikkei cuisine. And the Nikkei cuisine was spread out all over the South America to start with. But there's one key person I need to mention took the big part of this Japanese cuisine and the Nikkei cuisine to be spread all over the world, which is the Mr. Nobu, the chef owner of Nobu restaurant. He basically moved to Peru to open his restaurant in the early 70s, and he had so much difficulties. Obviously, he didn't know what the Nikkei cuisine back in that time, so that he served the traditional Japanese cuisine, and he struggled because not many people, almost nobody, he said, wanted to have a raw fish as it is. They have a similar kind of dish like ceviche, for example. It's technically is low. It's they marinated in the lime juice, and so that it's on the surface it's changing the color. It's marinated because of the acid, but it's uncooked. It's raw conditions, but they couldn't accept the raw fish as a sashimi or sushi. So one day he served the sashimi dish as an appetizer, and then went back to the kitchen to cook something and prepare the next dish. So he put the pan with the olive oil and put it on the flame. And then the first dish was sent back from the guest, untouched. And then the guest was saying that, okay, how can I eat this raw fish? It's not safe, and then I don't want to eat this. And then Mr. Nobu was really kind of depressed and the struggle. Okay, how can I do? What can I do? And then while he's thinking, he just realized that okay, behind him there's a smoking hot pan was there, and then he quickly took it out because otherwise it's going to get fire. Then he looked at these two dish. The dish sent back, and then the smoking hot pan. Okay, but if I pour this oil on top of the fish, so he did, and then it was seared by the oil. He just dropped the bit of sesame oil to adapt the flavor, and then the other acidic sauce, and then send it back to a customer, and they enjoyed it. And that was the breaking point. I mean, the game changer. And from them, he creates a lot of what we call translated dishes, keeping the good amount of the Japanese traditions, and then adapting the local culture together. And then soon after that, as you know, Nobu now, he became a world well-known chef. And then, rather than his popularity, what I learned through my experience in Nobu was that this mentality. Reason why he could do it is that he never sacrificed the original traditional sides, respect towards the traditional culture, and then he respect the local people's culture, and ended up create the world well-known cuisine, and then his empire was built for now, and that is exactly what I'm taking over. Obviously, I don't believe that I can be like Mr. Nobu, but what I'm trying to do, at least as a person who went through his filters, I need to take over this and develop the new style of world standard without sacrificing any cultural part of any cuisine or like local people. That is the ultimate goal. And then that is the kind of things I wanted to share today. Hope you understand that.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to a few question and answer sessions here.
Sure.
I have quite a few flurry of it, but I will probably be shortlisting some of it.
Sure.
It's been a great participation with regards to questions and shooting some excellent foresight into some of those. One question: what are the main differences between Chinese and Japanese cuisine except from sushi?
Okay, Chinese cuisine is a lot more focused on the cooking side, especially high temperature cooking with the spices. Obviously, as they are attached to the mainland of Asia, the Atlantic, basically they are more influenced by the lots of foreign cultures. So they have a lot more access to the spices whatsoever, and then the cooking techniques as well. But in case of Japan, we focused on more kind of less greasy, cleaner, simple food structure. So the seasoning on its own, even miso paste or the soy sauce we have, both countries, is completely different. Where they make, where we make, is completely different. So I think the most characteristic difference is that whether if you are evolved with the foreign culture, including the Middle Eastern culture, or keeping their own culture by locking down ourselves. That made significant difference, I think.
Okay. Is it possible to apply Takumi culture in nowadays in the culinary world now? And how do you think it will work?
Culture of Takumi is the way of life. So, for example, technically, we are entering to this world of Takumi because we are entering the chef. Chef industry is the world of Takumi. Definitely. So that depends if you choose, how you choose, how you get involved, how you develop yourself is the only key. So you already have a ticket and then you are half step in already. So rest of the things is you. All you need to do is be humble and be greedy in a way. That's all you need to do.
Interesting. Um, One last question I would like to kind of just wrap it up.
Mhm.
And before that, if any of the students or anybody who is participating in this particular session, if you want to contact Chef Masaki, there will be, the details are there. His Instagram handle and also the restaurant's handle, and it's in Chelsea. And I'm pretty sure a few of the participants here will be coming and gracing your restaurants very soon. But before we finish off the session, how do you foresee the restaurant industry responding to post-COVID world in terms of producing or purchasing menu design, business plan? I know this is it's a long topic, but if you can just probably compress it into very few words and we'll kind of say adieu.
Okay, so it is obviously extremely difficult time for all of us, within not only this industry but for everybody here now. But I think this could be a turning point because restaurant industry in a big city like London, especially, is chased by the lots of covers and then what is that the everything the all the ingredients the choice is right in front of you and then you don't really have a time to sit down and think what you were doing and this is the moment that I can for me personally is looking back what I'm doing and then preparing myself to the next stage which is what I think I want to focus refocus on the conceptual side of it more. That's why this actual what is that the cultural side of Japanese culture to talk you guys through is helping me as well. It's just the recapping all my experiences, and then based on that, I'm building the new concept, which is like the this let's say pandemic is showed us danger of this virus whatsoever. So that's a hygienical side of the what we do is needs to be improved, obviously. But more importantly, whole nation in a worldwide level is gathered together and try to fight against this virus, which is a brilliant thing. And then this should be kept in the different aspects as well, which is the environmental health. If you consider what we do, we are dealing with the tons of food source, and that is creating the massive issue environmentally. Like livestock is creating the CO2 problem and air pollutions, blah, 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 carbon footprints, and then also mass-produced product or the overcropping the natural food sources. These are causing a lot of issue. And in order to get over these issues, all we need to do is to gather together as people who's getting involved in this food serving industry, and then try to make a difference little by little. That is the most effective way and the only way to improve these situations. And this could be a good start of this making the change process for now. So I'm taking it in a very positive way and I try to come up with the better solutions when we reopen the restaurant, and hoping that world will be start to moving towards to the right directions in a whole nation level. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. One last thing to just finish on the same regard with the post-COVID situation. Known as a very small neighborhood restaurant, Dining's SW3, what would you think is your restaurant, how it will affect your approach in the future in terms of seating capacity, social distancing without losing the DNA of the restaurant? I believe when it comes to the staffing, you have, I would say, more than 100 people?
Yeah.
Around 100 staff working. It is a considerable size, a substantial people working in a restaurant. So if you can just touch a little base on that, and I think we will wrap it up.
Sure. Basically, the restaurant concept on its own is this together with this with this requirement, let's say, to serve the food in a safe environment. It's a completely different thing. Concept-wise, it's not going to change at all. What we do, my concept, our concept, as a chef in general, first of all, we serve a customer to make people happy through what we do. And that's exactly what we do. And obviously, there's going to be a requirement reducing the number of the people, and then we need to create enough amount of gap between the tables. And then, for example, like for all the front of house staff to wear the gloves, and then the sushi chef might need to wear the glove, which I don't like it, but to keep the safe side, obviously, that's what we need to do, and I'm more than happy to do so. So most importantly, what I can say is that we will work around it, and most important part is to keep our identity as it is without being affected.
Thank you, Chef. This was a very, very interesting aspect of
hopefully
cultural. Thank you very much for this interesting session. It's very insightful in terms of this very unique subject on the cultural study. We have seen so many other aspects of it, but thank you very much, Chef Masaki-san.
Thank you very much.
Again.
Thank you.
And thank you once again to all who participated in the session. Hope you all found very interesting. And there has been a flurry of positive comments for you, Chef Masaki. I will be sharing some information for you.
Thank you.
Have a good day all. Wherever you are, stay safe.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Plate, Industry Talks by Le Cordon Bleu. Keep up to date with all our news and episodes by following us on social media or by signing up to our newsletter. Links are included in the episode notes. Until next time, a bientôt!